Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a complete uninstall and reinstall of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Stick around and I'm going to tell you why and then show you how. All right, so the first question is, why are we uninstalling Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, there have been some major issues that have come up since the last update, and I should say update 1.16.2. And it's anything from VR issues, whether it be operating with the other VR services, Steam VR, Oculus, etc. We have seen a dramatic change in the installation size, coming down from 170 gigs to 83. That's over 50% reduction in size of the base installation. That is huge, guys. Huge. Okay, that's more than an optimization. That's when you can cut the file size down in half. That's pretty impressive. And so that got me thinking, anytime you're dealing with any kind of large files like that, I don't care what it is, you open a large PDF versus a small PDF, which one's going to take longer to populate and render, right? So I'm wondering what the performance gain might look like by doing a reinstall to the smaller base version. Anything that requires less pull from the system is going to be a better operation. The other thing is, with the latest update, the last update, everybody's community folder, it sounds like most people's community folder, I should say, got blown out. So there was a major problem with a bunch of people having issues with their mods working, not working. They're showing installed, but having very odd behavior. I've had a couple of crashed desktops with certain mods and not with others, and people aren't reporting the same thing. So I figured, you know what? Let's start fresh. We're going to start from a completely fresh installation. We're going to remove as much of Microsoft Flight Simulator from the system as we can prior to doing the new install. We're not just going to right click and go uninstall or go to the Windows and apps. We're actually going to go poke around some of the other directories where it may be residing, where residual information may exist, and we're going to purge that as well. Okay, we're going to start with a 100% completely clean installation. All right, so and with that included, we're also going to be installing any of the third-party applications that go along with this. So this is literally going to be starting from scratch, fresh connections, fresh installations, you name it. We're going to see what we can do and what kind of performance gains we get. Now, speaking to performance gains, I'm not going to be looking for FPS. I know there are people who say, "Oh, you're an idiot because you don't look for FPS." No, I'm not. FPS is not what I'm looking for. You do not need, as nice as it would be, you do not need 60 frames per second for a flight simulator of this nature. You don't need it. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not going to sit here and argue with this for 1,000 times. I run at 4K. I almost never hit 60 frames per second, and I have a very enjoyable experience. The only time that I really see stutters anymore is when I'm actively recording, and that's because you have a dual process using the GPU. Okay, so anyway, regardless, I'm not going to sit there and debate that. To each his own. You guys are welcome to chase FPS. It's just not worth it yet. Microsoft isn't even optimized enough to be chasing 60 frames per second at the moment. So getting off the frames per second for a minute, I just wanted to throw that clear. What I'm going to be looking for is the smoothness of the overall performance of the system, meaning load times. Are load times going to be reduced? Are we going to hear weird sound stutters when it loads? One of the things that I notice is the music. Sometimes it plays, sometimes it doesn't when you're at the loading screen. Sometimes it'll start to and then skip out. Closing the simulator down after a flight. Sometimes I notice it'll sit there for 3 or 4 minutes, and it is the only application that does it. And I have to go into the task manager and terminate it because it won't close. And plus I'm just impatient. So things of that nature are what I'm going to be looking at. The weird lag that I sometimes get at the world map when I first load in. It'll load in. I'll go to zoom in on a location. It'll sometimes pause halfway. I'll have to wait a couple of seconds, and then I can zoom in the rest of the way and go check out the area that I want to take off from. So things like that is what I'm going to be looking for. How is the simulator behaving? I'm not looking for FPS. Okay, I'm not focused on FPS. So if that's what you're hunting for here, you may see an improvement. I'm not going to necessarily be looking for it, but I'll let you know what I find. But if you are specifically looking to dig after FPS, this may not be the video for you. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to the first process of the installation or uninstallation. Okay, so the first thing that I have done, and it's up to you to back this stuff up if you wish, I have removed all of my add-ons and mods, okay? So I loaded up my add-ons linker, okay? I opened up ModManFX because I had some for both for testing because I was still trying to decide which one was actually my favorite. By the way, if you're interested, I think I'm sticking with add-ons linker, but they're both really amazing pieces of software. I haven't locked that down yet. So anyway, remove all of your add-ons from the community folder, okay? I mean, they're going to get blown out anyway, but, just back them up if you wish. That's why I always put my mods in a different directory. So I still have those available that I can reinstall once we're done with the installation. I don't have to go chasing all these down again. By the way, if you're interested in the mods and add-ons that I currently use, consider joining my Patreon site. I have a spreadsheet for Patreon subscribers that gives you a list of all the mods that I use. You can filter the Excel sheet, and then it provides the links directly to them. So, something to think about there. As far as third-party applications, some that I'm going to leave them alone for now, actually. I was going to uninstall them, and I got to thinking about there's really no benefit to doing so, as they all pretty much either connect through FSU IPC7 or they connect through Symlink. So there really isn't any advantage to uninstalling the third-party applications, as there isn't like a registry link between the two. They're linking through a third-party application or API. So I'm not worried about the third-party applications. We're going to leave them as is for now. If we notice that any are broken, we'll remove them and reinstall them. Okay, so now let's move on to taking a look at the file size. So see, we've got a couple different directories to look at, but the biggest one is going to be our packages folder, okay? If we come in and take a look at the packages folder, do a properties look. She's currently holding at 142 gigs is the size of the packages folder. Now this is going to be the bulk of the simulator. This is not the only installation directory, but it is going to be the bulk of it. So I'm kind of curious where they're getting the 170 gigs from. Come here, knock it off. Yep, right here. 170 gigs. I know it's kind of hard to see, so I'll pull that up like that. I am kind of curious where they're getting that information from, but, is what it is. And again, this is just the primary directory. So we have this directory here. Now let's go ahead and go take a look at a couple others. Now this other one here is in the Program Files Windows Apps. So it's going to be C Program Files Windows Apps directory. Yeah, let me expand some of this so you guys can see things a bit better, hopefully. And this one here, for example, is only 1.6 gigs, right? So now we're at like 145 again. I'm not going to go chasing down every single directory for this file size, but we're sort of getting an idea. Now, there's a couple other places that I want to look, which we'll go check out right now. All right, so a couple other directories that we're going to be watching for to make sure that they get removed is in our C users, in my case, Overkill, App Data, Local, and Packages. Flight Simulator right here. We want to make sure that gets removed. And then we're going to be checking for this one here and App Data and Roaming. So let's go ahead and begin the uninstallation. So I'm going to come over here to our settings menu here. So I just right click, Apps and Features, brings us here, find Microsoft Flight Simulator, and say goodbye. Dun dun dun. Baby, come back. All right. So we're going to remove that. Now notice all of this is still here, including the packages folder. So, well, nope, everything is still there. This is the problem with uninstallers. Okay, so even if we were to do a reinstall, this information would still exist. And when you go to pick the same directory, which I would assume you would want to do, it's going to either A, write over the information that is already here, or it's going to take merely the information that is there, use it, and then fill in the blanks if there are any. So it looks like a couple of things did get removed though. So from the packages folder here in the app data local, I no longer see Microsoft Flight Simulator, so that was effectively removed. Yep. All right, so we can close that window. But for example, this one still exists, so I'm going to delete it. Now, you guys do not have to follow this procedure if you are not comfortable with it. Please keep that in mind, okay? Only do what your comfort level allows you to do. And let's see here, delete all user packages. What is in here? The other crap. Don't do that. This is just me cleaning up because I happen to see it. All right, we'll have to restart for that. Okay, anyway, so let's come back over here to the packages folder, and I'm going to come in here and delete the contents here. This is the one that's going to take a second. All right, so when it's all done, it should ask you part of this. There are 2 items, or these 2 items are too big, blah, blah, blah. Just hit yes. And there it goes. Now, this is one of those things that you're going to have to ask yourself based on your computer's performance, network performance, internet, etc., if this is something you're willing to do. I know that based on your region, this may be something that could take days to complete. So it's a tough call. Now, the thing to remember is you're also only downloading half of the contents now, which is what we're here to test. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to poke around a few other locations and see if there's anything else I need to see. If I find anything, I will absolutely let you guys know. So give me just a second while I go searching for a bit more. All right, so I think we have cleared everything out that I was concerned with. I didn't find really anything else. The only thing I did was cleaned up my C Windows temp directory. I do not, if you don't know what you're doing, stay away from there, please. But I just want to let you guys know that was the only thing that I did. So, and now that we are done with that portion, I am going to restart the machine. So I'll catch you guys in just a second. All right, so now we are ready to continue and take a look at reinstalling Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, for me, I used the store when I did my purchase. So we're going to bring that up. And let's see here. Gosh, they have so much junk on here. Let's go to gaming. What am I looking for? What am I looking for, guys? What am I looking for? Library. My library. There we go. All right, and let's find all this junk. All right. So we're going to go with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're going to hit install. Now, I do want to change from your compatible drives. Let's change the drive location. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to keep it on C. So I'm going to go ahead and do C. And now it starts the download. Now, this is just the initial executable. This is what launches the primary window when we first get the would you like to update, and then we choose the packages directory, etc. So I'm going to let that finish up. There we go. And from here, we're going to hit launch. And I'm going to go ahead and close the store. If you guys haven't tried it yet and you're into World of Warcraft, I highly recommend the Burning Crusades Classic. I've been having an absolute blast playing that again. Probably my favorite expansion of WoW, by far. It was hard, it was tough, it was challenging, it was fun. It took a long time. There was none of this. You start your character and you're at level cap by the end of the day. Alright, let me move the taskbar off. And there it is. Let this part finish. All right, and here's where it's going to ask us to pick our directory. You guys are going to hear it pop. I'm going to open my soda here. Oh, yeah. All right, so here is the default directory that it tries to choose for your packages folder. I don't want it on the C drive. Now, here's the cool part. We are showing only 85.3 gigs. So in this case, let's go ahead and just continue on. We're going to go to Browse, And we're going to go to, so this is the default location. We don't want that. I still want it where I had it. So I'm going to go to, it is still on the C drive. I created a folder called Custom Folders, MSFS 2020 Packages. Okay, so I'm going to select that, select folder. All right, cool. That's where I want it. So at this point, now we're going to hit update. And this is where the installation will actually begin and take place. So I will see you guys when this part completes. All right, our installation is now complete, as you guys can see here. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. And this took about 35 minutes for me, nothing too crazy. Now that time frame obviously is going to be strictly based on what your internet speed looks like. So we'll give this a minute, see how long it takes for this to continue with the next step. There she goes. All right. So this is going to be like one of the first sections I'm paying attention to see if there's really any major update here. And that'll be our next step, is to go to the content manager and apply any updates and things like that that need to be installed before we worry about any third-party applications or any further adjustments to the simulator. Now what we can do while this is going, actually, is we can take a look at our custom folders again. Oh, the window's on top. Okay, so that popped up actually pretty quick. That really wasn't too bad. Let's see what moving into the world is like. Seems to be a bit faster response. Don't know that's anything to write home about yet, though. But let's check out, I'm going to go to C, my custom folders, and I'm going to see what the package install looks like, the official install. Last time we were at 144 gigs. And right now I'm sitting at 99.7. So I guess I don't understand where they're getting at. And I'm willing to bet after we go to the content manager, we're going to be back to 144. So let's go to Marketplace. Now, you know what, though? They're referring to the base installation. I don't have the base. I have the deluxe. So maybe that's what the difference is. And then if that's the case, I think they should be a little bit more specific on that. But let's see what we can do here. So let's go to not installed. Let's go to the aircraft for a second, because that actually might be a big difference. Hang on. I could be wrong. So let's select an aircraft. Turboprops 3. Okay, that's right. Propellant. Nope, that's not right. I can tell you right now that's incorrect. All the Coronado aircraft are missing. All right, so yeah, let's go back to the content manager. And let's go to the marketplace. And let's go to full catalog. Let's go to owned. Yes. Yep, and see, none of them are installed. All right, so let's take a look. All right, so one by one, I've got to go through and install all of my aircraft now. So I'm going to walk through the content manager, take care of that portion, then I'll be back with you guys. Okay, so here we are back with the final verdict from the full installation, and survey says we are right back to where we were. So they must be referring to the base version, you know, without the deluxe. So that's fair. It's still fair. My guess is that the previous versions, they installed everything and just locked it out. But that's all right. So no benefit there for this portion. But let's go ahead and move on now to the performance numbers here and tips and tricks and things that we can do to hopefully keep Microsoft Flight Simulator running better. Now, one thing I will say is it does seem to be a bit more responsive. Let's find my hometown here. Airport graveyard. It's actually the storage yard. I wouldn't call it a graveyard. The graveyard is there, but the storage yard is the largest. One of the largest in the world. Let's check the load time into the sim. This is a base installation here. No mods or add-ons into it yet. Community folder is empty. So let's just, this is everything only from the marketplace. Let's load in our Mooney here. And let's see what kind of load time we get. I'm leaving it running, letting you guys see it. That way nothing's cut out. You guys have the actual performance coming in from a brand new, fresh installation. Remember, we purged everything from the other directories. The only thing I didn't do was go through the reg keys, and that's because a nightmare that nobody really wants to participate in. I hate dealing with the registry. It's a pain. But we got everything else. Temp directories were cleared. Cache was cleared. So that's the other thing to remember. This is the first time loading into any kind of scenery here. And actually what I should have done was put the aircraft in the air, come to think of it, but that's all right. So, right off the bat, I guess it's hard to say. Let's just wait and see. This is a very long load, but as I was stating previously, it's the first time that it's loaded. So I guess I will wait, and then let's see if we get a faster load the next time I come back into it. All right, so we finally loaded in. It did take a minute. And you can see that it's not too bad. What you're actually seeing causing the biggest headache that we're seeing here is the motion blur. So that brings us to our next segment. Let's adjust some graphic settings before I move much further. So we're going to escape. Come on. There it is. Yep. Doesn't like the current settings. Let's go to control. Well, you know what? I have a very unfair thing happening here. There we go. Let me back out for a second. I had World of Warcraft running in the background while it was doing the updates. Okay, so that's actually significantly better. It's smooth. I don't really notice any stuttering. It looks good. But I'm still not crazy. I'm not a big fan of the motion blur in this simulator, so let's still adjust some things now. All right, so the default preset that it has me set to is Ultra, okay? I have not set this. You guys saw the launch for the first time. So we can go through and adjust a few things here. TAA is the best one to run. If you can get away with TAA, I highly recommend it. However, VSync, I don't. I tend to have more problems with VSync than not, but for the moment, we'll leave it on just to see if it becomes a problem. Terrain level of detail. I don't notice much of a difference between 200 and 100. I know there is a difference. I'm not saying there's not, guys, so please don't jump the wagon there. With 4K resolution, I don't notice a whole lot of difference from dropping the render scaling down to about 80. It definitely saves on the frames and makes a big difference. Terrain, vector, again, all these things. Buildings I tend to leave on ultra. Trees, grass and bushes, definitely not. I keep them at about medium. And the reason being is because I'm rarely ever down that low. And rarely in areas where I see it, you know. Buildings, I go for high. Trees, I go for high. Again, these are all things where when you're flying, you need to ask yourself, how often am I going to be paying attention to that? If it's something that you're going to be doing very often, then yeah, take it for the max. But I just don't notice much of a difference between high and ultra where it makes me go, Terrain vector data, again, adjust the quality of the terrain vector data tessellation affects oceans, lakes, rivers, roads. Okay, that's something that I typically do, again, on high and don't seem to have any problem. Objects level of detail. This is another one that I typically keep at about 100 and haven't noticed much of a problem. Volumetric clouds, big kicker, but we'll keep it on ultra for now. I do like that one on ultra if I can get away with it. Texture resolution. For this one, I tend to run either between ultra and high, but it really depends on how everything rolls. Anisotropic filtering. This is one of those ones, since I'm running in 8K, I don't notice much of a difference between 8X and 16X. Once I get below 8X, I start to see it. Okay, texture super sampling, same thing. Running on 4K, I tend to run this in either 4x4 or 2x2. Let's go to 2x2 for now. Texture synthesis, I also put this down to high. These I tend to leave alone. I don't mind the shadows, the ambient occlusion, things like that. Bloom, I leave it on as long as I can. Depth of field. This is another one where it helps with the external views, but other than that, it's really not worth it for me, so I keep it actually off. Motion blur, another one that I don't like it the way it's done in the sim, and I don't think they've done anything wrong, just for the record. It's just not my thing. I don't like the nature of it. It just sort of looks fake, right? And I get it. I mean, how are they supposed to make it real, right? They do the best they can, so that's not a judgment. It's just I'm not impressed, so I leave it off. And then glass cockpit refresh rate, I do leave that on medium as the default. So we're going to hit apply. Now the sim does need to be restarted in order for the texture resolution to take effect. And that was, let's go down and find it again, this guy right here. Oh, well, we left it on ultra. All right, so actually let's just see what we get. All right, see, perfectly smooth. Well, there's a stutter. So some of this we're going to be checking out here in a minute. Now on our next reload, we're going to load back into it. Now that we have our graphics set, I'm just going to go back to the main menu, come back in, and this time we're going to put the aircraft at least on the runway, hot and ready, and then we'll go up and fly. Now guys, don't judge the flying. I'm not going to care at all about proper procedures, things like that. My goal is to test performance, not test my flying skills, okay? Okay, so right off the bat, something that is a little concerning to me and makes me think that I missed an installation folder. This twin complex here that you see on the Throttle Hotess Warthog, I created that profile, which means that either A, it's syncing to the cloud, which I don't think it is. Please guys correct me if I'm wrong because I'd really like to know. Or B, I missed a configuration somewhere. Now, I went through and, my documents folder, seeing if there was something in there. I went through... Well, let's see, what's this one? Yep, nope. I went through my C users file, so C users overkill, and looking for something like a saved games folder or something that would, tell me, user data in regard to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, part of me is okay with this, like I really am. But then there's that part that makes me, I really wanted to get this to be a completely clean install. I wasn't happy about the fact that I had to redo my, what am I thinking of? Controls. But it was something that I was prepared to do because I wanted to come to full clean installation. So I am hoping this is something that is maybe a cloud storage. But it is something that, gives me a moment of pause as, again, I wanted it to be completely clean. So just keep that in mind. Obviously something was still left behind, or again, it's a cloud save. But in that case, let's go ahead and set this to what we're flying today, which is a single complex. Okay, and we'll come on down here. Set the prop, mixture, put that off here. And see if I can get to the parking brake. Oh, it was off already. Good. Okay, so from this point, now it's time to test performance. Looking for stuttering, which I am expecting to see. I just want you guys to be aware that I am expecting to see some stuttering here. So, here we go. And Again, no judging the flying. You guys should see where my controls are right now. They are nowhere where any reasonable pilot would ever want to fly them, so my flying is going to be probably pretty janky here. And just for you guys, I'll tell you what, I will go ahead and turn on the FPS counter. I know people are interested in it, so I will turn it on for you. Alright, so let's see here. If I can remember where it is. Oh, developers, duh. Alright, let's turn it on, apply, go back, tools, options, was it options or Windows? No, options. Display FPS. Alright, so we're doing 40 FPS here. $35, $33. And it is a bit stuttering, and I told you I was expecting it. Oh, it's because I haven't set it yet. I'm trying to get everything squared away here. Give me a minute. It's 30. It's holding pretty steady there. Let's see what we got here. So we need this and this. Okay. Pretty consistent. Let's change the scenery quickly. Into a more busier area here. Pretty smooth across the left and right. Now let's add some weather and see what happens. This is under clear skies, so I mean, that's getting much funny because we do not have clear skies right now. So let's go to broken. Maybe. See, broken always seems too intense for me. Let's go to scattered. So frame rate really hasn't changed much, which honestly I'm really surprised by. Tell you what, let's do one more test, same settings. Let's head over to Los Angeles. All right, so here we are in Los Angeles. And let me see if I can get the aircraft squared away for a second. What are we at? Almost 2,000. Should set it for. Sure, that'll work. And let's go altitude, hold, and autopilot on. I don't know why you're descending. Let's try that again. There we go. I think we got it this time. Oops. There we go. All right. So let's see what we're getting. 30 frames per second. Let's just let it run for a few seconds as we cross over downtown LA. I'm not seeing any stuttering that we normally get. Disregard, just caught it right there. But it was very brief. I will say it's much faster than what it normally was. Let's adjust our heading mode. So again, consistent performance, and this is what I mean by I don't care about FPS. I care if it's smooth. I care if I can turn and look around and not, you know, stutter myself crazy, you know. Those are the big things that get me. Let's head out towards LAX. Let's break all kinds of FAA laws here and regulations and just go right over a large airspace like LAX and see what we get. And right now, everything should be turned on. Multiplayer traffic, live AI traffic, the works. Oh, no, let's not do that. We don't want to melt the heads. I guess this altitude kind of makes sense, but we're going full rich here. There we go. So again, I will say right off the bat, normally by this point I'm stuttering, I'm already noticing framing, and I'm not getting any of that. I will say that. So, there was a little bit of stutter, but I mean, this is a massive improvement already. So, let's do this. Let's go in and let's put in some of our fixes for things, some of the tips and tricks that I use to sort of clean things up even further. And we're also going to, you know what, the one thing I will say, actually, before I get sidetracked, I think I know why my stuttering is so minimal. Go program files 86. Actually, no, sorry, wrong hard drive. Need to go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Steam VR, Bin, Win64. Oh, no, it is active. So I'm going to set that to rename. I'd love to know what keeps renaming that too. Something keeps renaming it. I think it's when Steam starts. Alright, so I'm changing that. Yes. Oh, you know what it keeps doing? It keeps recreating it. That's what the VR server exe is doing. You know what? Hold on a second. Let me delete that. I just realized. Hang on a second. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So it's this file here that we want to rename. And I renamed the wrong one, so give me a second. We're going to take this guy, put it back to what it was, and take this one here, and I'm going to rename it. What Microsoft Flight Simulator is trying to do about every 20 to 40 seconds, it is trying to start VR. Oh, looks like we already got one, so it's actually recreating it. And I imagine it's happening every time Steam tries to launch. So I'm just going to delete it. And the performance remains about the same. I don't have any issues, but I think we're about to crash. Oh, there was a stutter right there. So I'm kind of curious. Okay, well, let's do this too. Let's add some weather over here. Yeah, I have a hard time believing it's clear skies right now in LA. Let's go to broken again. And the frame rate still stays pretty good. Let's turn the aircraft around. Oops. I have no issues with what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing a very light, very occasional stutter, but nothing like I was seeing before I did the install. Before I just did this install, the stutters that I would experience were at times very severe. The sim would stop from anywhere from 1 to 8 or 9 seconds. And especially in an area like this. So, I'm going to say right off the bat, that's a good thing. That's a good start. So let's move on to some other performance fixes and changes that may help things even further. Okay, so the next thing that I was pretty happy about was that the sim closed down very well and very efficiently. So I was pleased to see that. So let's go ahead and take a peek at a few other things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our custom folders directory. Go into the packages, go to the official one store. Oh wait, no, that's not what I want. I do this every time. C, program files, Windows apps, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm going to find the flight simulator.exe, this one here. Go to properties, and I'm going to go to compatibility, and from here disable. See, and it remembered this too, so something did not get removed from here. So just so you guys can see, so this is very interesting to me. This folder was gone. I verified it. You guys saw it in the beginning of the video. This folder, Microsoft Flight Simulator .1.16.2, blah, 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 it was gone, which means all of its contents were removed. Yet it is showing here, disable full screen optimization. Now, I did say change this setting for all users the last time I did this. And so that should be a good thing. And hopefully that sticks. So, disable full screen optimizations is something that you want. You also want to go to change high DPI settings, high DPI scaling override, override high DPI scaling behavior, scaling performed by application. That's how you want it. You want an application. What's that saying is let Microsoft Flight Simulator, the application itself, control the scaling behavior. And that will help your graphics and some stuttering issues. So this is probably why it's actually running pretty smooth. So it started out like that, which is good. So I highly recommend that. That is a huge one for me. The other one is I want to make sure is still disabled. I have tested this both ways, on and off. Either way, game mode, I turn it off. Now this is a recommendation, guys. All of these are recommendations. You don't have to follow these. You don't have to agree with me. And unfortunately, mileage may vary. Your performance may completely differ from mine. That's just the nature of PC gaming with all the different hardware capabilities and software. The other one, hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. I turn it off. I don't have any issues, as you guys were just seeing, and I leave this off. There are some people, however, are very much the opposite. The one place I still have a horrible time with this on is in VR. If I have this turned on and I go into VR, VR is crushed. I cannot use it. So if you are one of those people who are experiencing something similar, try disabling this particular setting. Now, two schools of thought here, or first two requirements here. If I go to system, you must at least be, I believe, on 20H2 for this to be arrived. I think it was before that, but if you are on the latest and greatest versions of Windows 10 Pro, 20HT should be available. I think it is also available for Windows Home. So that is the first thing. Version must be there. And then finally, the other thing is, as I was stating before, the hardware accelerated GPU scheduling, I believe this is for NVIDIA only. So if you have an AMD GPU, this setting I believe is still here, but I believe it is titled something different. But the principle behind it, my understanding, is the same. So it will say hardware accelerated GPU scheduling if you are running an NVIDIA graphics card. All right, which I am. I'm running a 2080 Ti. Full specs are down in the description for anyone interested. All right, so we have completed this portion. We have gone into the Steam directory. I'll show you guys that again. So I went to, this is where I have Steam installed. Okay, and then I come down to Steam Apps, Common, Steam VR, and again, Steam VR is an app that you have installed with Steam. It does not install by default. You would have installed it manually. Go to bin, Win64, and again, we are looking for VR Server, which, where are you? This one here. And all I did was change the name and added .old at the end of the extension. Now I can guarantee the next time I start Steam, it will recreate this executable. But that is something that I do. I don't use SteamVR very often, so just keep that in mind. But if you, and all you have to do is rename it, take the .old off of it, and it will return the executable to a functional state. Okay. Now I want to leave it disabled for the moment. And there we go. Okay, so these are the biggest performance tips and tricks that I still have when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator. You guys saw what I did with the graphic settings. Again, I don't go into depth on the graphic settings, and the reason being is because you and I can have the exact same build. I mean, our hardware, you put our computers together and physically they are twins. And you and I can have two completely different results, even though we're using the exact same hardware. That is why I don't go into big graphic settings tutorials, because what works for me may absolutely not work for you. Even the tips that I've already showed you. Some of you have come back to me on some of this already and been like, oh my God, this is great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you did this. And some of you have come back and said it did nothing at all. And unfortunately, that is the nature of what we do. That is the nature of PC gaming. So now let's talk about my final thoughts on the reinstallation process. So my final thoughts on our reinstall here. I did notice the overall operation of the simulator was smoother. Everything seemed to be a lot less stuttery and staticky, even with inside the menu. Navigating around the world map was much smoother for me. The load time after the initial load to a new area, yes, was improved. So basically once it was cached, that definitely did help a lot. You know what? There was actually one more setting that we did want to check, and that was rolling cache. If you guys have rolling cache enabled and you have a high-speed internet service, so by the way, that would be inside the app. Well, here, I'll just launch the sim and I'll show you guys. All right, so stepping back into the simulator for a second, we are going to be taking a look at options, general, data, and rolling cache, and we're going to disable it. Now this is if you have a high-speed internet connection. That is the requirement here. You need to have a high-speed internet connection. If you don't, you could have a problem. All right, so now let's go into view. Let's go and review here. And let's load LA back up again. There we go. And let's do a similar test. All right, so here we are back in the simulator. Flying again towards downtown LA. And there was a little stutter there. I almost think the rolling cache actually might have been a benefit. Just sort of watch it for a second. So again, guys, these are all things that you're going to want to test for yourself. This is where it becomes challenging. It really does. You have to do your weights and balances. You have to decide, is this worth it? Is this something that, you see benefit on? Anytime you're dealing with large-scale environments like this with so many different graphical options and data options, there's a stutter right there. And you know what else that might be worth it is program files. Let's come down and find Oculus. Oculus is going to be another one. Let's see here. I think it's under software. Oh. Let's see here. Where's my Oculus home? There it is. Let's do the same thing here. And this is trying not... this is a shortcut. Never mind, I know what it did there. Do the same thing with Oculus that we've done with Steam. Fortunately, it's going to take... Let's look and see actually if it's running. I didn't even think about that. That would be interesting to know. Oculus is running and has no reason to be. So, per example, it launches automatically. I don't even... There we go. So there it is, guys, right there. So we're going to take this Oculus 64. We're going to rename it to .old. Once again, hit enter. I don't even use Oculus anymore, guys. I don't have an Oculus anymore. It's still installed because I use some of the, Beat Saber and things like that with my Pimax, but it's been weeks since I've done it. It is not set to auto start, which means something on the back end is starting it. So we're going to disable those, and we're going to end task here and end task here. And while we're here, let's go ahead and look for Steam VR, which I do not see running, but what was it? VR server 2 is what it was called. Nope, nothing there. Alright, good. BattleNet's still running, but oh well. So, that's another one that you guys might want to throw in the books. And now that I've clicked back in, it looks like it even picked up a couple frames, weird enough. So try all these settings, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I do believe it was worth it to do a reinstallation. However, I cannot give credit to anything that has to do with the patch. The patch, as far as the installation size and all that, all the installation parameters, they were all the same for me. I basically put a new copy back on it. However, I'm sort of wondering, with all the different patches and new scenery updates and things like that that have been added to the simulator over time, if a fresh installation was just a nice way to sort of clean things up and optimize the installation on your machine. So that might be something worth doing. Again, I'm not noticing anything too critical, although there was a stutter right there. I'm going to check the task manager once again while I have you guys all here and see if anything has relaunched. Well, let's just go here. That's what I wanted. Nothing that I can see, but it definitely tried to do something. I am actually wondering if the rolling cache was a benefit, and I will be testing this further, guys. It used to actually be something that was hindering information, so I'm almost wondering if this is something that is now beneficial. Data limit, I'm not going to put any data limitation on. We're going to leave data limitation off. I don't care how much it uses. Bandwidth unlimited, rolling cache. Oh, what did I just turn on over there? That's what I turned on, was data limitation. My bad. Want rolling cache back on. There's the rolling cache path. That's totally fine. So I'm going to leave that on and be testing with this for a couple of days, guys, and I will let you know what comes of it. I'm going to change that over to 10, though. Oh, not 108. And we'll see what comes up. So I will be making a part 2 to this, but for the moment, you guys have what my initial thoughts are. Let me know if it works out for you, if you guys decide to do this. Again, I am noticing some quality of life improvements since reinstalling the simulator, and I will be very selective when reinstalling my mods. I will be making another video speaking just to the third-party mods and add-ons that I use as I install them fresh. So be on the lookout for that, and I will see you guys in the next one.